Welcome to the Dr. Nikki Starr Show, a podcast to support you in your spiritual awakening and personal development. As a spiritual teacher, healer, and intuitive coach, my intention is to empower you to live your ultimate potential and your ultimate life. As a former medical doctor and mystic, my role is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality to support you in understanding more of your multidimensional aspects. I share on a diverse range of topics, and it's all to support your greatest becoming. My mission is to continue reaching millions of people for the healing and awakening of humankind for the creation of the new earth. Thank you for being here. Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Today, I want to talk to you about success in the new paradigm and what that means. Because essentially, we are going through a complete upgrade of our programming. As we create the new earth, as we create the new paradigm that we get to live, where we break free from the matrix and a lot of the programming of how we believe life should be versus how we actually desire it to be and know in our hearts how it can be and is meant to be. It also requires a rewiring of what success actually means and what is it? How do we know it when we find it? And so in the past, so I'm someone who born, bred New York City, and really just was in the patriarchal paradigm where success really meant how busy you are, how like numbers, like the amount of money in your bank account, as well as the accolades and the awards that you win. So it's a very achieving, right? So being a medical doctor, which I became, that's like, oh, success, right? Any form of financial success was a measure of success, right? Just like how full your schedule is, right? How many clients you have, things like this were a measure of success in the patriarchal paradigm, in the matrix. And then we had our spiritual awakening. And if you're like me, you're now in the new paradigm and or you're transitioning into the new paradigm. And what that looks like, success in that sense, what that looks like is completely different. The success of the new paradigm is about you living your life by design. And what makes you successful is how close your reality is to what you actually desire it to be, in a way that feels good, in a way that feels nourishing. And we started to touch upon this topic in last week's episode, which was about the fall of the boss babe culture, which was still a lot of the patriarchal, masculine fronting or masculine facing, meaning the embodiment was very masculine in terms of doing, achieving, realizing success based on numbers, success based on achievements and status, which that can all still be a part of the new paradigm, but it goes even deeper than that, because what we were seeing in the boss babe culture, as well as in the matrix, is people experiencing burnout, people creating lives that are not sustainable, that are not good for health. So even though you might be winning in terms of numbers, you're losing in terms of health, in terms of well-being, in terms of happiness. And we can see that the former paradigm, the matrix, the patriarchal paradigm has failed in a sense, because we see war, we see people with disease, we see that people are, let's say even in relationships, people are getting divorced, people are, and even though that's okay, it's more like you make an agreement with yourself and then you back out of it. And maybe it was like never the right match in the first place, but the measure is like sometimes people married for money, or people married because it was expected of them at that time, right? So I think this is a lot of the reason divorce happens, because people don't really know themselves. And so you end up failing, right? Like divorce is considered a failure to some people because
here you do, you make this lifelong commitment and then you get out of it. But remember, we're all changing. We're changing in every moment. So that's a whole different topic we can talk about. But I should say that people are not happy in their relationships, and that's a measure of that, right? And we were also seeing how mental health is really a big problem. And so many people are on antidepressants and all kinds of medications to try to bring themselves into balance. So how could any of that measure of success or fame or status or money, or even though you can still have all of those things in the new paradigm, it's just coming from a different place. So in the old paradigm, in the matrix, in the patriarchal type of system, those things are more important than your health and how you feel. And you attached your worthiness to those things. But that's not true for us anymore. Gone are the days of self-betrayal. Success in the new paradigm is you living your ultimate life, whatever that is for you, while honoring yourself, while using your body, your intuition as a guide. If you're tired and fatigued, it's an alarm bell to take better care of yourself, and maybe some kind of structure or system that you currently have in place is not serving you. So what it does is by creating in the new paradigm, you're creating systems that are sustainable for you. It's no longer about just the money or just the number of clients or being on the cover of a magazine or whatever success was in the past that people think are successful. It's really about how well are you designing your life in a way that you love, in a way that's sustainable for you, in a way that feels really good, where you wake up feeling lit, you love your life, you love your relationships, you love what you do with people you love. There's nothing done from a place of obligation, should, or feeling pressured by culture, society, or your family. So in truth, new paradigm success is about you being so connected to your divine blueprint, so connected to what your soul is calling you to do, so connected to what you feel your mission is and not what you think you need to do because of money. Because, in the old paradigm, I feel like some people even got jobs because they want that security of retirement, whereas you can just create your own business and create a whole portfolio, a retirement portfolio, and set yourself up in a way and even make so much money beyond what your pension would have even paid you. So in the old paradigm, some of the things that are considered successful or stable is putting power outside of yourself. Whereas new paradigm success is fully claiming the power in your hands, because it's rumored that there won't even be if you're in the US, it's like Social Security or pensions, and similarly, I know like in the UK, they dropped the amount of like what retired people receive every year. And so you're putting your faith, if you're operating in the old paradigm, in systems outside of yourself that are not sustainable. We've seen the rise and fall of civilizations. So to base your success on a system outside of yourself versus using your own internal GPS, you can be set up for disappointment and for a seeming failure. And it's actually never guaranteed. In a sense, in life, nothing's ever guaranteed, but when you really take full responsibility for your life and you decide to create the systems for yourself that work for you, and you constantly honor the changing tides as well as the changing tides within yourself, then you really start to live what you feel is successful and you start to feel fulfilled. Because when you place any sort of worth or success on a marker outside of yourself, you'll constantly be chasing the carrot. And here is where a lot of people, and I feel like I was myself included in this. And so I share this idea of the new paradigm success because in the old paradigm, I reached the place of what would have been deemed successful. I became a medical doctor. That's what I always wanted to do. It's according to society, it's the good thing to do. My family loved it. And then when I crossed the finish line, I was like, this is it. This is what it feels like. It didn't feel like the win or the success. Yes, I checked all the boxes off on paper, going to NYU for medical school, an excellent medical school, going to an excellent undergraduate school, had all the accolades, Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude. But while I was in medical school, I started to travel and I started to explore other parts of myself and I started to tap into spirituality. And there is where I felt so much fulfillment. And there was where there were no financial wins or accolades. For centuries, a lot of times spirituality was associated with poverty. That connection is now broken in the new paradigm. Those things are not connected. You can still be spiritual and still be wealthy and still have financial prosperity and abundance. And that's a lot of what we're creating in the new paradigm now. The marriage of those things, that you could do what you love and receive an abundant living from that. And so the emptiness of those outer accolades can never fulfill the truth of your heart. So in the new paradigm, you are guided to honor the truth of your heart, live by your divine blueprint, by your divine design. And the way you do that is to connect to your intuition even more, to connect to the truth of your heart even more, to connect with your soul, your divine support team, things beyond this physical realm, because you're actually creating life in every moment. So what you're creating now is actually based on the past. What you do now decides your future. And so for that new paradigm success, we can tap into future aspects of ourselves to create from that space. And that's a lot of the work I do with my one-to-one clients and even in my facilitator training. I support people in tapping into these multidimensional aspects of ourselves so that we create a life we really love that feels fulfilling, because that's what success is. You feel fulfilled. You have everything you want, everything you desire, and you feel fulfilled. It's not that you have everything and then you feel empty, or that it's like something doesn't feel right. Because I feel like that's a lot of what happened with me when I was writing prescriptions in the hospital, in the clinic. I was like this, I would feel like this person is not better. I know what it's supposed to feel like. I know what, when a client or a patient leaves me, they're supposed to feel better. I knew that intuitively, and they left feeling exactly the same. And then I had to go on my spiritual journey and awaken to the fact that I was born into a lineage of Colombian shamans and healers, that I hold codes of healing, energy healing, intuitive abilities, and that I knew that in an instant, I could have a session with someone and they can feel different and leave with a big smile and leave feeling really good. That the prescriptions were never the answer, even though society programs that into doctors, into the masses, right? Like television and ads and all of that is programming system. So if you're born into a system that teaches you all these things, you believe that is truth. You believe this is how things operate. The spiritual awakening that's happening on the planet is everyone breaking free from that matrix, breaking free from the programming, waking up to the illusion of the programming, returning to the truth of who you are, what is true for you. And a lot of times that requires so much unlearning and deprogramming of what you were taught, what you were told by your family, what you were told by religion, what you were told by society. When you break free finally from all of that and see it for what it is, that it does not define you, that is not who you are, and you give yourself full permission to honor where you are, what you want, what you desire, what feels good and true for you, even if that means letting go of your entire life, even your relationship, even your job, even your career, even if you're so invested. I was so invested. I had all my student loans from undergrad and medical school, and I didn't care because oftentimes people stay because of how much they have invested. And sometimes if something's evolving, it makes sense. Like if you go through a rough patch, but there's an evolution happening, whether it's in a relationship or your business or your career, and you know in your heart, like, and you want it to work, and you know in your heart that it really feels aligned, then of course you stay and you work it out and you go through, because oftentimes the challenge can just be a redirection for you to optimize, to up level the experience, the business, the relationship, so it can absolutely serve you. And then there are those patches, the rough patch or the bottom, you hit the rock bottom and you know, like, this is not for me. I know I'm living a lie. I know that this, even though it seems like there's success, it's not my truth. It's not for me. And it takes so much courage to walk away from everything you know or everything you've built. But what's on the other side is the reward of the fulfillment, the true happiness that comes with the success that you create in your new paradigm. So inside the bonus, I'm going to guide you through a process to set yourself up for success, to see where you are and to see where you want to go so that you can design your life by design in a way that feels really good, that makes you feel happy and joyful, that lights you up, where you feel successful, not just like you look successful. There's a difference. And so much of the old paradigm has been about like those false facades. You know, even now at the time of this filming, a lot of people are seeing Hollywood crumble. A lot of the shadow that existed there, like what people did for their fame, like that is not success. Even though they reached millions of people and whatever. And I've been on a Fox reality show. And I remember being on that show and felt like, what am I doing here? This feels wrong. But I had signed up and it was fine. I would have had to go through a lawsuit if I had left. But I feel like I was so divinely guided, supported, and protected that in seeing it for what it was, I was able to, I feel like my guides helped it to get canceled before I had to stay there for a whole year. And I was grateful when it did. I'm happy that I went on the show because I knew that I was a light, but I also saw like how much there were lies and a lack of integrity. And, so I had a moment of being, in the whole media scene, which I do. And who knows? I still have to examine if this is an old dream or it's still a dream of mine of to have my own TV show and things like that. Because right now I love living in nature by the sea on a beautiful island that's a slower paced living that has beautiful energy, and life in the big city no longer aligns with who I've become and even my energy system and nervous system. I know that cities can support certain functioning, and humans weren't intended to live in concrete jungles, and it can wreak havoc on the nervous system, on your happiness levels. So I invite you through this podcast to ask yourself, like, are you successful? Are you living a life you love in every aspect? Is there any place that you're lying to yourself that wants to shift and evolve? And so we're starting to go into the bonus a bit. But I want to leave you with, it's never too late. It's never too late to be successful. I remember seeing a post recently about some really incredible brands, like iconic brands where people didn't even start it until they were in the second half of their life. So your age never matters. How much you've invested financially does not matter. Your obligations that you feel to other people does not matter. It's your life. You're here to create your life to be successful in a way that feels successful to you. The numbers do not matter if it's empty, if you don't feel good at the end of the day. What is success for you? And if you want to go deeper into this, I will see you inside the bonus content. I thank you so much for being here, for tuning in. And big kiss to you. And I'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Dr. Nikki Starr Show. Please like this podcast and share it with anyone you feel would benefit. Subscribe to the podcast to receive bonus content. And remember, every Monday, the video version goes live on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being on the ascension path with me and for doing this great work.